Hello, everyone. Oh, there you are. Welcome to Real Guitar Live. I'm Thomas Michaud. If you're new here, welcome all of you who are here live. Great to have you here. And I look forward to both answering the pre-submitted questions and any additional questions that you have. If you have some questions that you're going to put in the chat, and I'm really hoping you do, please start with the word question. And I'll repeat this later because I can't see it very easily. Come on, I'm getting older. I don't know about you guys, but these only work so far. And for those of you who are watching this as pre-recorded, feel free to add your questions in the comments on YouTube below. And even though I won't get to them as quickly, I will get to them and I will answer your questions. And of course, I would love to see you come back and share in the live presentation as well sometime. So I'm going to start. I have some pre-submitted questions, and then I'm sure you guys will have some more questions for me. And let me get started with the pre-submitted questions and see where this goes. Oh, by the way, I know a lot of you have been here before, but just in case somebody's new, the way this goes is I answer, first of all, the pre-submitted questions, and then I'm going to answer any questions that are in the chat. Anything related to guitar is fine, and I'll tell you if it's out of my area of expertise. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to try and BS. And then I'm going to do a drawing, and the drawing is for members of my Real Guitar Success membership. A lot of them are on here today. These are people who have completed the 20 practice sessions for the month. These are sessions. You get one a day, one each weekday. And the only thing you have to do is spend 10 minutes on it and decide if you want to spend more time on it later. When you've completed the 20, they check them off and they get entered in the drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. And I'll be giving that away today. It's just kind of a fun way to encourage practicing. But of course, the practicing is the real benefit. So let's get started with those questions. The first question. Okay. If I know the chords and can sing the song, if I know the chords and I can sing the song, the melody to the song, how do I find the melody notes? How does one put the chords and melodies together? Shulamit, if you're on the call, I could use some help with this. When I read the question, if you're singing the melody, you know the melody notes, but I think maybe what you're asking is possibly how can you write them down, or how can you maybe play them on your guitar? I'm not sure. Give me some more feedback. I'd love to talk more about this. And as a matter of fact, I'd love to do a whole learning session on this kind of subject, but I really want to get clear on what people want to know, and especially you, Shulamit, since you're a very active student and I really want to support you. Let me go on to the next question. If you're on the call, Shulamit, I'll keep looking for your answer. Yes, you are. Oh, I'd love to hear more from you. Tell me more about what you're trying to say. Are you asking how can you learn to write the notes, or how can you figure them out on your guitar, or something totally different? Okay, next question. I am most comfortable strumming with my fingers. And is it a mistake not to learn to strum with a pick? Absolutely not. I love strumming with my fingers. Okay, now with that said, there are a few caveats, of course. There always are. That works best on my steel string guitar. I don't like strumming on those. I said steel string, nylon string, excuse me. That works best on nylon. I don't like strumming with my fingers on my steel string, mostly because I don't want to damage my nails. I really have to file the nails and polish them and smooth them out. And for the nylon string, I do a lot of classical flamenco kind of stuff. And if I break a nail or if I chip a nail, it really puts a damper on my playing. So I don't want to take that chance, but I can do it. And I have done it. And if I'm very careful, I can do it without breaking my nails or cracking them. I'm just not always that careful, so I don't even go for it. I prefer to use a pick. The other thing is, when I strum on the steel string guitar with my nails, it's a different sound than when I strum with a pick. And I like being able to use both. You don't have to use both, but it's nice. It's a nice option to be able to use both. And I get that you must be in the early stages if you're still, just working on strumming, but I can't tell from the question if you have a nylon or steel string. So that will I hope I've covered both scenarios. Electric guitar, I have seen people use their fingers. Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits, and I don't see him strum though hardly ever. I guess because he has other people doing the rhythms, and he's playing the lead guitar with his fingers. I've seen some blues players play the electric with their fingers too, but most people prefer to use a pick. I think it adds versatility, but it's absolutely not a must, or I certainly wouldn't call it a mistake. If you get really good with your fingers, that's far from being a mistake. And sometimes I think some people make a mistake of trying to be okay at everything and not really good at one thing. You might at least consider getting really good with your fingers. Do I really need to? Oh, that was Paul, and he has one more question. Do I really need to learn bar chords since there are so many workarounds? That's a good question, because I often make videos about workarounds for bar chords because they're hard for students to get going, and I don't want to stop them learning songs because they're not playing bar chords yet. That said, I really do want my students to learn bar chords. All the workarounds in the world don't really make up for the actual sound you get from some of the bar chords. And probably the main point I want to make is yes, I can talk. They're really not that hard. That's what I want to say. They seem hard in the beginning, and it's a hump you have to get over. If you do it right, it's not as hard as you think. Mostly people approach them wrong. They try to make too big of steps or go into bar chords right when they need it in a song or something, and they don't really prepare and do it step by step. The assumption is I should be able to do it because other people are doing it. It doesn't work for me. Something's wrong. Step by step, prepare. There's a whole course for you guys in Real Guitar Success. It's bar chords for everyone. I break it down step by step. I worked on this course for years and years and years. I've made several courses, and I found that my steps were too big in the course, and I kept refining it and showing techniques and using it as an opportunity to teach other aspects of playing guitar in the course. If you're in Real Guitar Success, if you're ready for bar chords, go for it. Do it. Use the Real Guitar Success method, the bar chords for everyone. If you're not there yet, just be patient. You'll get to it. If you're in the beginner's journey, you'll get to the bar chord course. And it's better to sometimes do things in order and try and do everything at once. If you're not in Real Guitar Success, I have some great lessons on YouTube on how to break things down. Of course, I'm not going to have a 5-part section course on it on YouTube, but I do have several videos that are very good. And just do a quick search, bar chords. I have the ultimate bar chord post on my blog, and it incorporates videos and different aspects of bar chords. It's really good, I think. I've worked on that for quite a while. Next. Thanks, Paul. Good questions. What strings would you recommend for an acoustic guitar for playing old school Delta blues? Okay. I read this ahead of time, and I don't have a one definitive answer. Because that's not my specialty, old Delta blues. I've heard some and I can play some tunes, but for the most part, that's not a specialty of mine. And I would say they're probably not special strings for that style of music, and I'm not 100% sure about that, but they're probably not special strings. I would recommend the usual strings I would use for my acoustic guitar, probably light gauge, not heavy, because I know there's bending in there, and it's really hard to bend on acoustic guitar, especially with heavy gauge, or what we call medium is really heavy in acoustic guitar. It goes extra light, light, and medium. I don't think I've ever seen anything called heavy for acoustic guitar. Now, that said, there are some strings that people use on electric guitar for blues. They're flat wound, and they give you a softer sound, kind of not as crisp. But that is for electric guitar. I don't think you'd use that for acoustic guitar. I think, at least for me, and any blues I've done with my regular D'Addario strings that I'm using, that's the way I'd go. I hope that helps, and I'd love to hear more if somebody knows more about that. I'm learning all the time, and I certainly want to share that with all of you guys as well. There's a huge price difference with guitar strings. There are $20 strings, or the question is, are the $20 strings much better than the $6 ones? Are we paying for brand name. Any suggestions on buying guitar strings, acoustic? He's asking specifically acoustic guitar strings. Great question, Paul. You know, I've never had this question, but this is something I really would like my students to know. First of all, guitar strings are not as different as it would appear by the brands and hypes. I'm not saying they're not different, but just not as different as they would lead you to believe by all the hype and the advertising. First of all, most of the actual metal strings are only made by 3 manufacturers in the world. And so the basic wire is pretty much the same with all the strings. There's not one string that has some super special combination wire that they're using that other people don't have. And they do wind, the wound strings are the most different because most companies wind their own strings. I use all D'Addario strings, and I've tried lots of different strings, and I'm open to trying some other strings as well, but they work well for me. And they have both kind of the standard strings and a few kind of specialty strings that really work for me and for a lot of people. I also know D'Addario has state-of-the-art machinery, winding. As a matter of fact, Ernie Ball bought some of the old D'Addario machines that they use for winding, and when D'Addario retooled and bought all the newest sophisticated computerized machines. So, you know, Ernie Ball is not necessarily going to be much different. Now, I know people swear by brand names and all, and that's fine. You know, I remember having a friend who would never play anything but a Fender guitar, and that's fine. Fenders in general have a certain sound that he liked, and he was loyal to that brand. I'm all fine with that. But I'm generally a more practically oriented, and I'll buy the string that is both works for me, that's reasonably priced, and is fairly accessible. I don't want some specialty string that takes me 3 months to get in the mail. That if I'm broke my strings and I don't have a pack handy, I'm in trouble. I want accessibility. So that said, I'm going to share my screen for a minute because I've got a few things to show you. And I know how to do this. No, not yet. Yes, I did it. This is the D'Addario string I'm using right now. And it is the more expensive string. It has a coating on it that makes it last longer. And it seems real to me. It seems like they last longer to me. I'm always a little skeptical of advertising claims, but they do seem to last longer. So they're $12.74, acoustic guitar strings. I use extra lights on one guitar and lights on another. Lights, 12 to 53. I've never tried custom light. I might try that. I think the extra lights are just a little light for some things, but I like for finger picking extra lights because there's a lot of movement in my finger picking. And for strumming, I like light gauge. I prefer even medium, but the light's a good compromise. Medium makes my hand tired especially if I'm doing combination of finger picking and strumming. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have several guitars. If you don't, you have to decide lights, extra light, maybe even a custom light. There's no wrong here. I think they probably all have their slight pros and cons, but they're not terribly different either. These are probably as good as any string you could buy for $12.74. So if your question is if you need $20 strings, probably not for acoustic guitar. These are probably as good as any string you could ever buy. Or I'm sorry, 14 if you buy it one time, $15, 12 if you do the subscribe thing. And if you buy it in quantity, like a 3-pack, 25-pack, you can get them a little less. Let's see what we got here. For 25-pack, what's that? That's like 25 packs of strings at $200. Well, that's $4 a pack. No, come on, $200 for 25 packs for $8 a pack. $8. I'm on the spot here. I'm actually pretty decent at math, but not when I'm under pressure. $8 a pack. So yeah, and again, best strings I think you can get for acoustic guitar. Not necessarily better than all the other strings, or some other strings I'm sure is good. They compete with a brand called Elixir, which are coated strings also. Slightly different feel and touch, but Elixir is a little more expensive. Some people swear by them, and maybe they might be slightly better at, I can't tell. Now, that said, here's the strings I used for years and years. The kind of my standard string, D'Addario, phosphor bronze, EJ16s, light gauge. For most students, this is what I would recommend. Just straight out phosphor bronze, sound good, $8 a pack. You can get them cheaper in larger quantities. Again, I don't think you need to pay $20 a pack of strings. I don't know about the brand thing because D'Addario is a major brand. I mean, it's major as any other brand. I think some boutique brands, it's a matter of advertising and kind of, I don't know. If you really believe the strings do magical things, I'd say spend the money and do it. Why? If you really believe that, because if you believe it, it's true. But for me, I don't. So that said, I hope that's been some help. For the most part, it will be up to you. And I think it's kind of fun to try strings as well and just see what you like and what you don't like. Here's a fun question. This is by Gur in Ireland. Have you any suggestions for a young lad who has nylon string guitar and loves Iron Maiden? Gur, I know, teaches guitar to young people in Ireland. Oh, maybe old people too, but I know he has young students. His mother doesn't want him to play electric guitar. He's a beginner. So I'm wondering what type of exercise or scale to give him to work on so he can enjoy Iron Maiden, his Iron Maiden passion. Well, of course, nylon strings never going to sound like Iron Maiden, but I would jump on right away power chords, and they're easy enough for most people to do. 2 strings, and you got a lot of leadway when you hit the other strings because you can kind of deaden them out with your left hand. So this is probably one of the first songs I learned with power chords. It's for those of you who weren't into the heavy metal when you were younger, it's a Black Sabbath song, Iron Man. Smoke on the Water. Oh. That may be a little easier, less movement. And, I'm playing it with power chords. I think Richie Blackmore plays a little differently, but power chords. That's where I'm going to stop. I would also teach minor pentatonic scale, but not in the beginning for a young person. It's just, once they play it, doing something with it will take a while to be able to get some results that sound like anything. Power chords by far will be the main thing. Do you have any simple pieces for beginners on Spanish guitar with tabs? Yes, I do. The first thing I'd recommend is on my website, search for on thomasmichaud.com, the blog, search for Malagueña. It's the most recognizable, and I made a simple version and a little more complex version. I also have several tips on playing Spanish guitar, more like how to play some chord progressions and some melody and things. I've broken it down to small pieces so it's fairly accessible. On the blog, thomasmichaud.com, just type in Spanish guitar, and there is even a link to will compile a bunch of the Spanish guitar songs. I have a whole Spanish guitar course within my Real Guitar Success membership. So those of you who are part of the membership, there's more there, organized step-by-step course, and I'm making more all the time. That is my forte, so to speak, not traditional Spanish guitar, but the more pop Gypsy King style Spanish guitar. Grant is asking, what are some things we can incorporate in improvising using along with pentatonic scale? And for example, can we use double harmony notes? I didn't practical towards the end. I think, can you use double harmony notes would be enough. Yes, that's not the easiest way to improvise using the minor pentatonic. Improvise. I'll assume he's talking about minor pentatonic, but the minor pentatonic works particularly well for rock and blues, and anything that has a rock and blues tint to it, like some country song have a kind of bluesy rock sound. So you could say some country. And you don't normally use a lot of double harmony notes in that style of music, not a lot, some. So that's probably not the first place I would go. I would start by learning licks, specific licks. So I'm going to do it on my nylon string guitar, but here's a lick. Oh, let's give it the full bit. That's a lick. Here's a lick. And here's a lick. Things like that. Those are fairly bluesy licks. I'm not even going to try a hard rock lick on this guitar, but the first place to go is to learn basic pentatonic scales and then learn some licks and try to incorporate the two together. Use your ear, play a simple chord progression and play along with it and try to incorporate that and keep at it. It's not something you're going to get in one sitting. The best advice I ever got on improvising is from a jazz guitarist, Emily Remler, who just said, spend 2 hours a day. She spent 2 hours a day just putting chord progressions on a tape recorder. Yeah, it was tape recorder back then, and improvising over it. And she got better and better and better. And she got really good. Not some special magic technique or some piece of information that finally she got, just doing it and stuff clicked. Learn some licks, listen to other people, copy licks, move them around a little bit, make them your own. You don't have to do everything exactly like other people. And then keep trying to incorporate into your own practice. Keep doing it over and over and over. A little bit at a time. You don't have to do 2 hours a day, but 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. If you want to improvise, you can do it. Okay, thanks, Grant. Rogelio has 3 questions. What is a motif and how would you use it in guitar playing? A motif is normally a term we use in classical music. It's a phrase, so to speak, a short phrase that's often repeated several times. And when you say in guitar playing, it's more of a composition technique. So it's not specific to any instrument, but it is a composition technique. If you were soloing, let's say, you might play the same lick in several places or several times throughout the song. But if you're writing a song, in the melody, you'd have that same little combination of notes with that rhythm show up in a few different places. So again, not specific to guitar playing. So I wouldn't really say it has to do with guitar playing, but rather in writing songs and possibly in composing a solo. Is there a place in real guitar school that can help us learning how to write our own songs, like a beginner's guide or something? No, there isn't. I deliberately created Real Guitar School around playing the guitar, not composing. I love composing. That's really my passion, more than just playing the guitar. I play the guitar so I can play my pieces. I intend to create a composing course at some point, oriented towards just this kind of stuff. But I'm not there yet. Knowing that there's interest will encourage me to put that higher in the top of the list. I'm kind of balancing right now with a fingerstyle guitar course, and I'm happy to kind of move things up if they're of more interest. Is there a lesson about the capo? A great question. Capos are very useful, and how to use it and what it means to move it up the fretboard. So a capo, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is this. It's this device. There's a few different versions of it. These are 2 of the common versions of it. This is a D'Addario one. This is an off-brand, a generic brand, I'll call it. I have a lot of capos. This is another very popular one. It's called a shub. Most people play folk guitar know the shub capo. Really works well as this style of capo. Kaiser is the most well-known version of this style of capo that kind of has a lever, and you put it on your guitar, and it basically is the equivalent of raising the nut of your guitar up to here. So if I play an E chord and then I put the capo on, let's say 2nd fret, it's E, 1 fret up would be E sharp or F, 2nd fret would be F sharp. Now when I play E chord, it's F sharp. It's as if I put the bar right there, my bar finger, pretending the cable's covering it. So it makes, in this way, it makes the notes higher. It's used for changing keys. So let's say you know a song with some chords, but it's a little low for your voice, but you don't want to go through the trouble of rearranging all the chords. You can put the capo on and raise up the pitch a little bit, to like an extent. Once you get past 4 or 5, it starts getting really high pitch and doesn't have the same sound. Sometimes we use a capo for that reason, put it way up high and play along with another guitar player so we can, kind of combine the high sound and the low sound. And sometimes, even for solo guitar, it just sounds a little better raising it up a key, or makes it a little easier to press the strings. Once you put the capo on, the strings are a little easier to press up in here. I do have a whole course on using a capo for changing keys. And so I'll put a link to that in the show notes, which is Rogelio, you will have access to because you're a member of Real Guitar Success. I do have some blog posts, and I'll see if there's anything about that on thomasmichaud.com. But the first thing that comes to my mind is that course that teaches how to use the capo, how to change keys, and gives you some practice sessions on changing keys with a capo. Moving up the fretboard, what he's asking is just simply take the capo off and put it on a different fret. I start 1, move it up would be 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so those are all the pre-submitted questions. Let's take a look at some new questions. And again, for those of you who came in after we started, please put the word question in front of your questions in the chat. That way I can see them quickly. And I likely will miss them if you don't do that. Let's go down here. Concerning strings, Elixir Nano is wonderful. Shulamit likes Elixir Nanos. Those are the competitor to the D'Addario I mentioned with the coated strings. And Elixir is older. They came first. D'Addario came out with not an exact copy. They did it a little different way, but that's their competitor. Dan looks like sweat protection from sticking to the guitar when strumming. Let me see. I'm looking for questions. Oh, I get it. I went too far. Let's start from the top. Questions. Oh, okay. So Shulamit is she is referring to the question about if I know the chords and can sing the song, how do I find the melody notes? She's asking, how can I play the melody notes on the guitar? So here's how I do that. And I do sometimes play the melody notes. If I want to write down the melody notes, the first thing I do is I'll kind of hum along with the song. I'm not a great singer, so I'm not going to spend all my time singing, but I use my voice to get the melody to the song. It's quick and easy without my instrument. Then I'll go to the instrument and use my voice to try and pick out the notes. So da, 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 da. You can see, because of experience, I can almost get right to that guitar note. Almost, not quite. I missed by half step. And then once I can play the guitar note on the guitar, that answers your question, Shulamit. This is the process I go through. I search for it. Then I will use that to write the notes out on, actually I use a computer, but I used to write paper because once I can see the notes on the guitar, I know, what the notes are on my guitar. I can read guitar notes. If you can't read notation, that's not going to work. You have to learn to read notation. It's a skill you learn. But you could more quickly write tab. Tab's easy. I can look here and you can see on a tab right where that note is. You don't have to worry about the rhythm either, which is actually one of the harder parts for me, rhythm. So when writing tab, you can see right where the note is on paper and you could write it down if you want. Back to your question specifically, Shulamit, that's pretty much the process. I use my ears, da, 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 and try and match with my voice. You're a better singer than me, so that'd probably be easier for you. Da, 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 and so on. It helps for me to know the key of the song. So I listen to this. Let's say, da. What key is this? E. Na, 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 na. I just made up this song. So I'll play around. Da, 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 da. I'm finding the home note. If I find the key, it kind of isolates what notes I'm looking for, makes it easier for me to pick out the notes. I have a whole session on changing the key, so I'm not going to go into it, or rather finding the key. I have lessons on that, both on my blog and more extensive ones on Real Guitar Success. So I won't go back into that. And I did actually talk about that last month, but it helps. And I would encourage you to, if you're working on a song and you want to find the notes in your guitar, find the key first. And that kind of isolates what notes you'll be working with. Maybe play the scale from that key a few times, both to get in your ear and to get your fingers used to playing the notes that you'll be looking for. That often, when I do that, really makes it go much faster. Okay, thanks, Shulamit, for chiming in there. I'm glad you were here. Some people get artificial nails. Don't you? This is Joseph asking. Yes, Joseph. Because on my nylon string guitar, I use these nails. These are not exactly artificial. They're a kind of a buildup on top of my nails. Not acrylic, but some substance. They have a name for it. It really helps me a lot. My nails crack or break, and even if they work for a while, they don't last very long. So with this, I can play for long times. And I just go to the nail shop and have a wonderful young lady fix these for me about every 2 or 3 months or so, maybe every 2 months. I don't think that's 3 months. Works for me. I do know some people that actually glue on artificial nails, flamenco players I'm talking about, and not appropriate for rock guitar or anybody using a pick. This is specific for finger style guitar. Rogelio asks, I still struggle with learning to strum. I started learning with finger picking. How can I get better at strumming, please? Strumming is a process, and especially if you're not used to it. A lot of students start off strumming, but apparently Rogelio started off with finger style, so strumming is a little harder. Again, you want to break it down and start with how you hold your pick. Make sure that your pick is not going to slip out, but not so rigid that it's stiff. And then just try with a beat, strumming straight down. I'm simplifying a process, which again, I have lessons. I'll put a link to more extensive lessons in Real Guitar Success. By the way, Rogelio, if you haven't completed the beginner's journey, there is strumming lessons in there, and I encourage you to follow them because they're placed at strategic places so that you can use the chords and other things in the context of strumming right then and there. It works better than just focusing on strumming and then try to integrate that with the other things that you know. But if you just want to do strumming, I have a whole strumming course, and there's lessons on my blog as well. Start with just straight down and try to get in time. Then work on down up. One of the tricks here is as you go down, let your pick angle up slightly. And when you come up, opposite way. That way it'll brush on top of the strings instead of sticking in the strings like that. We'll go to my guitar, even though I don't know how much you can see there. So that's keeping my pick straight up and down. This is angle it like down. See, it kind of brushes up. And you notice I'm not trying to make a chord right now. I'm just working on strumming. Then I'll see how that sounds with the chord. Do that. I would recommend using a metronome very slow and try to pick up your speed little by little and get a smooth sound. Work on it a little bit each day, just 5 minutes a day for a period of time. Don't get out of the mindset that you're going to sit down, do this, get strumming down and move on. It's not that way. It's a skill. And you're going to be refining it as you progress all the time. But to kind of get over the hump of just being able to strum, you want to work on a little bit each day. Then do a simple strum. Here's the simplest strum I know. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's 4 beats. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. So practice that strum. Try using it with different songs or exercises in the lesson. Then start adding some other subtleties to that strum. And again, I'll have to defer to more elaborate lessons for that. But if you're having a hard time strumming, it's probably because you need to go back, work on the basics, and do it persistently a little at a time, and get some basic habits that you can apply to more complex stuff. Next, let's see what we got. Bauer says the bar chord lessons are great. Thank you, Bauer. I worked really hard on these for years. A couple of different variations until I feel like I got it where it should be. Question. Mark says, when playing bar chords, is the trigger thumb a concern? Popping in thumb joint along some stiff and soreness? I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know what trigger thumb is. I don't think it's happened to me, and I haven't come across that term. I'll stop there since I think this is an area where I don't know enough about to answer it. I will say a lot of people do get sore at playing bar chords, and the thing is to break them down, work on just parts of the bar chord, put it together, and do it a little at a time over a period of time. If your hand is really sore, it's probably time to take a rest. Do stretching each day. I do stretching every time I practice my guitar, and I have a series of stretching exercises that I'll put a link to as well. Stretching really helps me. I think it helps most of the students that use it. Okay, question. What is on your arm? Oh, this. Yes, this is actually a sock. And I cut the end of the sock. The reason I'm wearing it is because I was practicing my classical guitar, and this guitar has a finish called a French polish, and the sweat from my arm can damage the polish over time. So whenever I practice, I put this on, and when I rest my arm on guitar, it's not in direct contact with my skin. Excellent question. Good for expensive guitars with French polish. I guess it would be an expensive guitar that would have French polish. The French polish is a very thin polish, and the belief is that having that thin polish instead of the heavy lacquer like you see on acoustic and electric guitars helps the sound improve. It improves the sound on good quality guitars. So it's a little extra care is needed, something like this. Or a lot of guitar players put just a little cloth right here. When I do that, the cloth inevitably falls off. So I prefer this. I got this idea from another classical guitar teacher. They make arm sleeves like this for that purpose, but the sock works great for me. As a matter of fact, I have a couple arm sleeves and I like my sock better. I'll take it. Well, no, I'm going to leave it on since I might practice some more. There we go. Yeah, it's a sock on my arm. It was an old sock and didn't cost me anything. I was going to throw it away anyway. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. People are saying some people are using Alexas. Some are using Didier acoustic light strings. Can you suggest a beginner book for acoustic guitar? If you're brand new to acoustic guitar, I would recommend my course, Beginner Guitars for Adults. You can look on YouTube or on my website, and it's free. The videos are going to work a lot better than any book. I know a lot of my teachers, I own a music school and hire teachers, they use for note reading the Hal Leonard method. Or I've had many teachers over the past use that. Probably for note reading, that's good. I don't know how good it is for learning the chords and strumming. I find videos more useful for that kind of thing. Do you have a favorite key or do you play in all keys? I'll say I have 5 favorite keys. C, G, D, A, and E for guitar. Those are pretty equal in terms of my favorite keys. I call those the guitar keys because they're the easiest to play on guitar. And no capo, right? If I play one of those keys and put a capo on, now I've raised it up half step. So those 5 keys get to be 2, 10. You know, I'll go up this far with a capo. I don't usually want to go up this higher than that, 3rd fret. How important is guitar finger exercises? Felicia asked. I would say it depends on what you're playing. If you're playing simple Folk style guitar, probably not that important, though I would always encourage any student to practice at least a single basic exercise like this one or something similar. The reason is because it is a way to train your fingers to go in the right place. When you're playing songs and chords, there's a lot going on. It's hard to focus on the subtlety of getting your finger in just the right place. By doing an exercise like this, it frees you up. You memorize the exercise very quickly. It's simple. And then it frees you up to really focus on that aspect. Do it a little at a time, and you keep training your fingers to get in the right place, and that transfers into everything else you do. Chords and everything. So at least one exercise, and use it maybe as a warm-up each day. It's simple, keep it slow, relax, keep your hand relaxed. So it makes a good warm-up. A more complex version, if you've been playing for a while, would be this. I start on the 5th fret. Till I get the pinky involved and go all the way up and then back down. And it's just 4 notes on each string, back and forth. David asks, after 6 weeks into the bar chords, I am still experiencing quite a few dead and buzzing strings. At this point, should I consider changing strings from 12s to 10s or spend more time on the 12s? It's not likely that the gauge of your strings is causing the buzzing. It's subtle adjustments in your fingering. And when you say 6 weeks into bar chords, are you, David, you could ask this. Are you 6 weeks into the real guitar bar chords for everyone course, or are you just working on bar chords straight out? Because then I could tell you if it's your method, or if you need to maybe back up and do some of the earlier stuff in the course, or if you're trying to do something that you should break it down a little more. So I'll look for your answer to that question, David. Rogelio asks, great advice on strumming. Thank you, Rogelio. And Joseph says Steve Vai had operation for trigger problems, tendon problems. So it sounds like trigger thumb is some type of tendon problem. Question. Wow, it moved on me. Come back. There it is. I see quite a few guitarists play where they use the thumb and reach over the neck like this. Yes. Like this. Like playing a chord. Or this. Reach over the neck, the low E. Oh, darn, it keeps moving on me. And play a low E. Something good to learn. I don't use that technique. I prefer to have my thumb behind the neck, like this. And it could be, at least part from my classical guitar training. There's a lot more I can do with my thumb behind the neck. Bar chords are easier. You have to get your thumb back there pretty much. Now, there is a technique, and I think this is the one you're talking about, where you make a bar chord, and then you reach your thumb over and play that low E right there. I see quite a few professional, very good guitar players do that, so it's not wrong. As a matter of fact, it works for them. It's absolutely right. It's not what I prefer. I prefer to make my bar chords this way. And I've never spent a lot of time trying to learn to do this. I just doesn't seem like the place I want to spend my time. So it's a personal decision. I don't think it's a must. And I would say maybe even might not be the right thing for you. Next, my thumb and wrists have been sore from learning bar chords, especially when using classical guitar posture different, that I believe caused the soreness. I don't know what you mean, Joseph, by classical guitar posture. Do you mean the way you're sitting, or are you talking about the way you finger the bar chord in a classical position? But posture wouldn't have anything to do with soreness of your hand. But probably the the subtle angles of your wrist and your fingers would have something to do. By the way, soreness can be helped with lighter strings on your guitar. So if you're having a lot of soreness in your fingers, that might be a time to try lighter strings. And you can always build back up as your fingers both get stronger and you get the technique better. It's a lot of little subtle things that make for easy, this used to cause me soreness at one time, just playing an F chord on the guitar. Not at all now. It's just a combination of the subtle places in the way I move my hand and the muscles that have developed over years. And that seems to be the case for all the students. At one time it was hard and sore, and now they don't even think about it. So David says, yes, he's in the Bar Chords for Everyone course. You might want to go back and do some review. It's probably time to do some review and pay more attention to how you're positioning your hand and look in the videos. Feel free to ask questions too, specific in the course, ask questions on a specific lesson so I can address it right then and there instead of like in a global sense. Say this exercise is causing me pain. I could probably offer some suggestions, but it really is helpful to go back and review something like this because there's a lot of information here aside from playing the bar chord. So some things are going to click more that'll help you play guitar in general, and you'll get more practice in some of the basic techniques that will support you moving forward. That's one of the advantages of having a course like Bar Chords for Everyone. I can integrate a lot of subtle things that'll help you in a general sense playing guitar, but also you have a very clear exercises and technique progression that you can go back at any time. It's almost always when I'm learning something new, always at some point, either at the end or in the middle, go back and review and then do it again because you just don't get things the first time around. Everything, I mean, you get things, but just not everything. Joseph calls the thumb over the busker way. I guess a lot of buskers use that technique. No, not muting the E. It's actually playing the E note with the thumb instead of barring across like this. I believe it is easier on a electric guitar or acoustic because of the thinner neck. It's harder on a classical with a wide neck. Okay, so that's all the questions I have for today. I'm going to do the drawing, and while I'm doing the drawing, feel free to add questions, and I'll answer whatever's left when I come back from the drawing. So I'm going to get out my hat, my second hat. This is a gift from my daughter. She has a boutique store, and yeah, she grew up. So again, for those of you who came in after, this is people who have completed the 20 sessions in the practice sessions for the month of July. Yes, we're doing July. And I'm giving away a $50 Amazon gift card. These are members of Real Guitar Success. And the goal is just to spend 10 minutes on each of the sessions. They can decide, they can save it in their favorites if they want to come back to it later. So let's see what we got. And let's see. Wow, this is jchtyahoo.com. I'll have to go to my computer to find the first name of this person. I can't quite put the email with the name, but you will get sent a $50 Amazon gift card if you know who you are. And everybody else, you're all the winner. Everyone who has completed the 20 sessions for the month, you're that much better on guitar. And you've hopefully got some sessions in your favorites that you can go back to and enjoy and play in the future. Okay, any more questions before I close up for today? David said he'll go back and review. Never hurts, David. It never hurts. Except for those people who keep going over and over and over reviewing and are afraid to move forward. Don't be one of those, but I don't think you're there. No more questions. Thank you all for being here with me today. It's been a pleasure. It's really fun to be able to answer your questions. I put myself in your position. And I think, God, I wish I had somebody to ask way back then and I have to figure everything out. And I'm glad to be that person. I will be back next month, the first Thursday of the month. In my time, it's 12 noon. It'll be, of course, in your time zone. I'm in Pacific time and on the West Coast of California. That's it for today. We're going to close up. Bye. Hope to see you again next month. And if you're interested in my Real Guitar Success course, I'll put a link. There's a 14-day trial. Take advantage of it. You'll learn something, and you might just find out how much more you could be learning, how much fun you could be having. Bye for now.